政府官，中央人民政府今天胜利了。
为建设富强、民主、文明、和谐、美丽的社会主义现代化强国努力奋斗。
In Exhibition Hall number 4, on the ground floor of the National Agricultural Exhibition Center in Beijing, a traditional bronze cauldron called a ding is on display. Made by an ordinary farmer, it's called the ding, commemorating the repeal of agricultural tax. As of January the 1st, 2006, China's agricultural tax was abolished. Wang Sanni, a farmer in Ningxiu County, Hebei Province, on his own initiative raised the funds to mark the occasion by making a ding. The inscription reads, "I am the son of a peasant. Our ancestors have been taxed for generations. Today we are bidding farewell to tax. I have made this ding and inscribed it to remind our descendants of this moment." Today, each hand that touches it is bidding farewell to 2,600 years of grain tax. It is also expressing appreciation for the young republic's support for ordinary people. The repeal of agricultural tax was a historic move by the Chinese government and a major public welfare initiative. In maintaining the sustained and rapid development of the national economy, the Communist Party and government have always started from those issues that most concern the interests of the people. They have consistently adhered to accelerating social construction with the focus on people's well-being. The underlying principle is that development relies on the people and its results must be shared by them. Throughout the reform and opening up, people have steadily fulfilled their basic needs for food, clothing, and shelter. They can now travel with greater freedom and enjoy comprehensive health care. Life for everyone is richer. At the start of the 21st century, the CPC Central Committee adjudged that China was reaching the stage when agriculture should be promoted in combination with industry and rural development along with urban development. It decided that, as an incentive to rural areas, investment would be increased there and the tax burden reduced. As a traditional agrarian nation, China's economy was, for thousands of years, dominated by agriculture. Revenues from the countryside formed the bulk of tax revenue. With the reform and opening up, and the rapid development of industry and commerce, the importance of agricultural tax to the national economy began diminishing. Agriculture's contribution to the state's tax revenue fell from 39% in 1950 to 1% in 2004. On December the 29th, 2005, at its 19th meeting, the Standing Committee of the 10th National People's Congress adopted the decision to abolish agricultural tax, effective from January the 1st, 2006. On the same day, President Hu Jintao signed Presidential Order Number 46, inscribing the repeal of agricultural tax into law. These days, farmers aren't taxed for their work, yet they still receive financial assistance from the government. As a way of encouraging them, subsidies are available for producing quality and other grains, and purchasing agricultural machinery and the other means of production. Since 2004, the state has enforced a minimum purchase price policy for key grain varieties. The price farmers receive for their grain has steadily increased. Harvests have become income. Tan Ye-jun, who is in his 60s, is happily surveying several faded account ledgers.
有了翻天覆地的变化，种地不收税了，反而还给补贴，给一系列的什么粮食支补、粮油支补、农机支补等等等等。
Tan was one of his county's biggest grain producers. Back in 2000, he began to record his family's income and expenditure. 20 years of records show how life has improved for this northeastern farming family.
从账本体现，以前的时候收入是几千块钱，现在都是10多万块钱，得翻了30多倍。逢人都说过年好，如今每日都是年，确实是现在如今每日都是年，感觉到非常幸福。
As part of the effort to strengthen the rural infrastructure, the state launched a project to extend radio and TV coverage to every village. It also introduced a program to encourage cultural pursuits and the study of science and technology in the countryside, as well as to improve health and hygiene. In March 1993, the two sessions convened in Beijing. At their meeting, the NPC deputies who had come from all over the country were surprised to find they did not need food stamps to obtain a meal. As a feature of Chinese life in the 20th century, food stamps had been the symbol of an era. In 1953, in the early days of New China, a nationwide grain purchase and distribution system was introduced to resolve the shortfall in the food supply. This ushered in the era of food coupons. The coupons gave rise to long queues in front of grocery stores. Housewives had to carefully plan their family's rice and oil consumption month by month. The introduction of land contracting and agricultural product pricing generated high yields and bumper harvests. As a result, farmers' incomes rose rapidly. However, once people were being supplied with adequate food and clothing, new problems arose. On November 1st, 1984, Shenzhen, which was at the forefront of the reform and opening up, cancelled the use of food coupons. By doing so, it ensured that the millions of migrant workers who had flocked to the city had access to food. The move was a milestone in the transition from a planned to a market economy. Shenzhen's example quickly spread across the country. On April 1, 1993, the State Council issued the Notice on Accelerating the Reform of the Grain Circulation System. Urban residents bid farewell to the food coupons and other vouchers that had been part of their lives for 40 years. On May 10, 1993, Beijing began the process of cancelling the last of its food coupons. By this time, a greater variety of grain was available in stores, in addition to rice, flour, and corn. At markets, it was possible to buy all sorts of coarse cereals and even imported rice. Tianjin resident Chen Jiarong keeps a collection of 20,000 coupons at his home. They cover more than 1,000 categories, including food and fabric coupons, and soap, match, and cabbage vouchers. As symbols of the planned economy, they represent the memories of a generation. In 1963, Chen Jiarong married Wang Yuling. According to the custom in his hometown in Shandong province, the newlyweds had to have 4 new quilts. In an age when everything was rationed, Chen sought the help of his friends and relatives and gathered enough coupons for the fabric for 3 quilts. He borrowed the 4th, which he returned the day after his wedding.
我心里很内疚，我总感觉到我对不起我爱人。当时来讲我和老伴很少添衣裳，所以现在呢，我收藏这个各种票证也成了一个宝贝了。
These little pieces of paper were part of a historic transformation. Their disappearance marked the progress of a nation from poverty to prosperity. In 1991, China youth daily journalist Xie Hailong took a series of photographs which he entitled, "I Want to Study." The most appealing of them shows a round-eyed little girl with short hair holding a pen.
她叫苏明娟，她那双眼睛特别的大，特别的亮。当她一看我的镜头的时候，我果断地按下了快门。我用镜头记录孩子们成长，快40年了，教育上真可以说是翻天覆地的变化。
Education is the foundation of a country's development. To create greater equality of opportunity in education and make it accessible to everyone, the Compulsory Education Law of the People's Republic of China was passed by the 6th National People's Congress at its 4th session on April 12, 1986. Later, the outline of China's education reform and development, issued in 1993, aimed to popularize 9-year compulsory education by the end of the 20th century. Its ultimate goal was to eliminate illiteracy among young and middle-aged adults. In 2003, the state started to exempt rural students from tuition fees and miscellaneous other expenses. It provided them with free textbooks and offered subsidized accommodation for students from poor families. In 2006, the revised Compulsory Education Law provided for compulsory education to be fully covered by the Social Security system. In September 2008, China implemented a policy of free compulsory education.
走进了21世纪，我来到了开阳县，那个时候孩子们正在发新书。我问他们，发新书了和以前有什么不一样啊？孩子们异口同声的回答：不要钱。
At a bilingual primary school in Yarkand County, Xinjiang, When the bell rings at noon, the children start filing into the canteen. A local dish called hand-grab rice is their favorite. Since 2011, more than 10,000 rural students who are boarding in the county have been exempt from paying tuition and miscellaneous other fees. They are also entitled to meals subsidized by the government that are both healthy and tasty. Employment is the foundation of a livelihood. In the 21st century, the CPC Central Committee has continued to make it a top priority. It has adopted a series of policies designed to help the unemployed find jobs. In 2008, the global financial crisis created severe difficulties for China's employment situation. Many small and medium-sized enterprises were forced to close down. More than 10 million migrant workers lost their jobs, while for tens of thousands of college students, it was a struggle to find work. In the face of this grim situation, China adopted measures to stabilize the employment market and keep people in work. Steps were taken to create new jobs, and by the second half of 2009, employment levels had recovered to what they'd been before the financial crisis. It's early morning, and Li He, the former chairman of the Jilin Petrochemical Northern Company Labor Union, is visiting Wang Zhongfang's agricultural technology company.
挺好的吧？挺好，挺好的哈。这有没有这个就业岗位需要干活的人？咱们还有一些下岗的困难职工，上这儿来干点活。
He hopes Wang Zhongfang can take on a few more laid-off workers. The two are old friends. Wang couldn't have started her business without Li's help. In 1997, when Wang Zhongfang herself was laid off, she came up with a solution. She would start a flour mill, but she encountered numerous difficulties at the outset.
就是因为什么都具备了，但是没有钱启动不了。这个时候最难的时候，李主席吧就把工会的这个，通过工会的这个救济资金给我拿了1000块钱。 就用这个1000块钱，我才启动起来，然后一点一点的通过滚雪球似的把这个面粉厂滚动起来了。
Grateful for the help, Wang vowed to make the factory a success, but she soon faced a problem with how to sell their products.
李主席又通过工会和这个各个单位跟我联系，当时卖出去20多万元的，这一下我就信心也有了。
Within a year, Wang Zhongfang's mill was doing so well that she could expand her operations.
北方公司社会信纳总共是224人，我当时带领224个下岗职工在干，干得非常好。那个时候
不是光救济几个钱儿的问题，关键是解决，就是呢，他们这个岗位有工作干，就过去所说的这个变呢，输血为造血。 变呢，这个送一碗饭为送一个饭碗。
Today, Wang Zhongfang has turned her attention to agricultural science and technology. She wants to help more laid-off workers like herself to enjoy a better life. The steady expansion of employment opportunities and the stability of the job market enabled more people to find work and lead a productive life. Gu Fangzhou has a nickname, Grandpa Sugar Pill. He developed an oral vaccine that has prevented countless children from contracting polio. In the 1950s, Gu Fangzhou was in his 30s. He was assigned to a project researching a vaccine for polio. In 1960, the team he was leading successfully developed China's first domestic inactivated polio vaccine. But before it could go into widespread use, it had to be tested on children. Gu Fangzhou's eldest son was the first to try it.
即使有点风险，喝出去了，也只能有这样，不然的话，你没法进行这个实验，谁都不敢吃。你不敢吃，你让别人去吃去。
After a period of observation, to the delight of Gu Fangzhou and his colleagues, the oral vaccine was deemed safe. In 1965, a nationwide campaign was launched to vaccinate against polio. In 1978, the sugar pill vaccine was included in the prescribed immunizations for children. In October 2000, the World Health Organization declared that China was polio-free. In 2013, the application rate of 11 vaccines, including those for hepatitis B, BCG, and polio for children, reached 90% in rural areas. For many years, the country's farmers dreamed of having their medical bills reimbursed, like city dwellers did. In 2003, the new Rural Cooperative Medical Scheme began in earnest. As a mutual aid program, it was led by the government. For the first time in Chinese history, the government was providing direct financial support for farmers to receive basic medical care. In 2007, Zhong Dehua from Lujiang County, Anhui Province, suffered a heart attack. Before seeking treatment, he asked about the cost. What he learned left him worrying that he would be saddling his children with a huge amount of debt.
5万块钱，你这个是现在更少。我当时我就讲我们农村人大概的是钱，我就看不起。
In the event, his membership of the cooperative scheme, which had cost him a few dozen yuan, entitled him to a reimbursement of over 17,000 yuan.
一个吊水吊30-40块钱，一万多块就不是。可是老百姓他这干房是不是他送账的和回送啊？讲，干啥给着。
The cooperative medical scheme has considerably eased the financial burden and worries of rural residents. Fewer farmers are now being plunged into debt as a result of falling ill. In 2007, China launched a pilot medical insurance scheme for urban residents. By 2008, the number of participants in the new rural cooperative medical scheme exceeded 800 million. In 2012, the number of people covered by health insurance exceeded 1.3 billion. In 10 years, China had succeeded in achieving basic medical insurance for the world's largest population. Since Wang Huanggu became a librarian, he has discovered in reading a sense of serenity he never knew before.
这就是全世界是治病就把这个家里的所有的钱就全部掏空了，小的还小，不要说去读书，就是吃饭也有问题啊。
This certificate put his mind at rest. In 2007, a minimum living standard social security system was launched to help poor people.
那一起加起来一个居住就2700多，再加上我这个公卫性岗位是有那个300块钱一个月，有900块钱一个居住，就有3500多块钱一个居住了。基本上解决了我家里的那个2个小孩这个。 兄弟读书，那身份问题基本上解决了。如果没有这个政策的时候，家庭就肯定要散掉。
Urban residents were given an apartment as part of their social welfare provisions. Their living conditions were desperately poor. A whole family were squeezed into a 4-square-meter room. It was common practice to create a loft space inside the room for the grown-up children. In the tube-shaped building, each household had a tap and a water meter. It could be locked to prevent theft. Families took turns cooking in the communal kitchen. The introduction of commercial housing in 1980 marked a major change for many ordinary families. People started to really feel the benefit of the reform. The Beijing to Kowloon Railway has brought enormous benefits to people living along it. The railway, on its way from the national capital to Hong Kong, passes through 98 cities and counties. Examining the railway on the map reveals something rather odd. It sometimes takes a circuitous route through remote and mountainous areas. In fact, the railway was designed to pass through a number of old revolutionary bases. These include the Hebei, Shandong, Henan border area, the Dabie Mountains, the Jinggang Mountains, southern Jiangxi, and northeastern Guangdong. In order to boost the local economy, the planners created a twisting route connecting these areas, which otherwise had limited access to transport. To encourage development in the two old revolutionary bases in the Jinggang Mountains and Ruijin, the route crosses the Ganjiang River twice. For this purpose, 2 additional bridges had to be built and 4.4 kilometers of extra track laid. The opening of the Beijing to Kowloon Railway was celebrated by people living along it, especially those from the old revolutionary bases. When the train stopped at Ganzhou Station, an old lady who had traveled specially for many miles along mountain roads excitedly placed both hands on it. She exclaimed, "I've finally seen this train with my own 2 eyes." People, as the foundation of a nation, are the source of its stability. Guaranteeing and improving people's livelihood is a task that has no end. The CPC has always considered the people to be its top priority. By tackling one issue after another, year after year, and by continuing down a socialist path with Chinese characteristics, it is creating a better future for the people.